outside with the red hots. It is moving around, or people are jumping from side to side, but it means what Howard just said, that this civil war is red hot right now. It isn't going away in your party.
No, it's not going to go away, and it's going to play out over the 2016 election. But look, Chris, this isn't an ideological, nutty person yelling the loudest, the craziest things in the room at any given time. It helps solve some of the problems that have been built up over the time, and it's given up over the last two election cycles because of all of these nutty candidates.
Steve, don't you now regret that you solemnized the marriage between the responsible Republican Party of John McCain and Sarah Palin?
How'd I know you were going to go there?
Well, of course I'm going to go there. It's on your record,
it's been self-evident.
It's your most famous event.
Look, it's been self-evident for some time that, when you look at some of these folks, whether it was her, whether it was a Christine O'Donnell in Delaware, we shouldn't define who is and who isn't a conservative on your capacity to suspend disbelief and say that these people have the capacity to be in the United States Senate. But look, I mean, this has been self-evident for years, Chris.
Yeah, at least I got my throw up my leg from my leg from Obama. You got it from Sarah Palin.
Well,
God, they'll never go away.
Mine went away faster.
Why? You're getting nervous, man.
What are my thoughts? I'm not happy. I'm not happy with this field. I think they got to find a candidate for president that can beat Trump. I throw up my leg from Obama. You got it from Sarah Palin.
Well,
Around the nation, TYT Nation, Jeff Waldorf here. Welcome to the show. Boy, it's a big show today. We've got the raucous caucus going on here in Iowa. So first in the nation, and already big news about that. Bernie Sanders has actually won the first caucus. There are many. Satellite caucus, actually, where apparently his efforts to get people to turn out bore fruit. Where 14 out of 15 caucus goers, really small, but meat packers in, I forget the name of the town here, very small town in Iowa. Meat packers, mostly immigrants, went 14-0 for Bernie Sanders versus Elizabeth Warren. It's the only two people to have the only two campaigns that have showed up at that particular caucus, and Bernie Sanders already has 3 delegates. Wow! Again, raucous caucus, right? I know it's just a small satellite caucus, and of course there will be other satellite caucuses held, and then we've got the main one at 7 o'clock in Central Time, I believe. And so, I mean, it's an exciting day. Exciting. So stay tuned, man. So now we've got some great stories here. We've got Donald Trump in the Super Bowl. That's always fun. Some news from Friday. Rashida Tlaib boos Hillary Clinton, then apologizes. I'm going to, of course, explain why that's wrong and why she shouldn't have done that. We get the DNC that is looking to include billionaires in the very next, not the next debate, but the debate afterwards. Literally changing the rules to try to elevate Michael Bloomberg. We've got John Kerry and some interesting reporting about him possibly running for president to stop Bernie Sanders, and then him hilariously denying it. And then we also have Chris Matthews having a complete freak out. That's always fun when Chris Matthews freaks out. So before we get into it, I just want to send some warm wishes to Sarge Tech and his mother. Hopefully, she recovers, and so we're sending love here. All right. So sending love and of course hope. There's also other bad things that have happened. There's another shooting that happened this time, Texas A&M Commerce. And so that's terrible. I believe 2 people are dead. And so, look, I mean, this is why it's so important to elect Bernie Sanders. Why? Because he actually wants to fix these problems. Is actually going to work on it. Is going to try to take the NRA money out of politics. That's why it's really, really important. All right. Anyway, before we get into it, please like and share the stream. It's very helpful that you do so. Like and share, comments, super chats are always welcome. Those go to help the show and all that stuff. So, all right. That said, let's start with a little bit of Trump fun. Then we'll go into the Democratic primary, which is the main focus of today's show. I forgot to set those up. So let me just hold on. Just give me a second here. Okay, I can't do it like that. Okay, I'm just gonna have to set all these manually. All right. Talk about being prepared. All right. President Donald Trump drew a lot of laughter on social media on Sunday after placing the Kansas City Chiefs in the wrong state. Yeah. Now, this is after the Chiefs' victory in the Super Bowl over the San Francisco 49ers. He tweeted this: "Congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs on a great game and a fantastic comeback under immense pressure. You represented the great state of Kansas, and in fact, the entire USA, so very well. Our country is proud of you. But your teacher is not. Your geography teacher specifically. But basically all your teachers, very not proud of you." All right, so look, I'm not a sports person. You guys should probably know this. And it's not necessarily a sports story. But here's the thing. You don't have to be a sports person to know that Kansas City is in Missouri. And the Kansas City Chiefs are also from Kansas City, Missouri. Although I'm guessing that this is nothing a Sharpie wouldn't fix. Now, this tweet was up for about 11 minutes. So imagine the conversation that happened when that tweet was posted and the 11 minutes in between, where he's like, dude, or so, one of his aides like, dude, come on, here's a map. Kansas City is in Missouri. Wrong state, dude. Wrong state. So he deleted, of course, that tweet and replaced it with one naming the correct state, but it was too late. Even Claire McCaskill, former senator from Missouri, and somebody that I'm not exactly fond of, but she was able to get in on the fun. She said, quote, "It's Missouri, you stone cold idiot." Is it wrong that I kind of like her a little bit better now that she's no longer in Congress? I mean, she still massively is against progressives, but at least she gets to roast Trump, and it's pretty fun. Now, Lauren Arthur, current Missouri state senator, also tweeted this. Wrong state, best state of things you don't understand, like the heart of America, or let me add, anything to do with geography, or science, or politics, or governance, or management, or hiring, or fitness, law, the Constitution of the United States. Man, this is going to be a very, very long list. Nonetheless, he got a lot of other fun responses here. Another Twitter user said, "Can't believe the deep state put Kansas City in Missouri just to embarrass Trump." Deep state, damn it. Now, I love the timing here because recently you had Donald Trump's Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, asking a reporter. He literally yelled at this reporter for 9 minutes straight for challenging him on a question, right? And he pulled out a blank map that was not labeled and had her try to point out Ukraine on a map after saying, "What Americans care about Ukraine?" Well, it turns out there's actually a lot of people who care. It's you guys that don't care, but we care when the president tries to do personal corruption. But anyway, so he says, I don't care about it. Point out Ukraine on a map. Well, and she does. Now, she does so successfully, by the way. This is a NPR reporter, Mary Louise Kelly, right? By the way, after that little dust up, Mike Pompeo took another reporter for NPR and basically kicked her off the plane, right? You're not going to be able to follow me on the trip. Oh, come on. Really? Now, Pompeo also afterwards lied about this and said, well, she didn't actually point at Ukraine. She pointed at Bangladesh. Oh, really? How would you know? Besides, Bangladesh and Ukraine are actually nowhere near each other on the map. And by the way, this woman has a master's degree in European studies from Cambridge. It's very unlikely that she would point out Bangladesh at all. But again, through the power of Sharpie, that whole situation can be remedied for Mr. Pompeo. Yeah. Speaking of Sharpie, by the way, others referenced the time that when there's a Hurricane Dorian, in September, Trump said the storm would most likely sweep Alabama. And when that didn't happen, he produced a fake, weather map to support him. A fake weather map with Sharpie all over it, saying it's going to hit Alabama. The storm never hit Alabama. And so this, of course, more responses and people likening to that situation. In fact, writer and television producer Brian Behar says, someone quickly take the Sharpie out of Trump's hand before he redraws the map of Kansas. Oh, and of course, the memes keep coming. And it's hilarious. Greg Krieg, a CNN politics reporter, also tweeted, quote, tomorrow, Trump waves around a map in Oval Office showing that Kansas City is, in fact, in Kansas. Lots and lots of Sharpie. Sharpiegate 2.0. Look, at this point, I actually wouldn't put that above our very stable genius. So now let's get to more serious stuff here. The next story involves Rashida Tlaib. Okay. Representative Rashida Tlaib was mobbed online after a video of her at a Sanders event showed her booing Hillary Clinton. Now, Tlaib was booing in response to Clinton, basically saying in the documentary that nobody likes Bernie Sanders. So let's watch that.
Clinton said that we're not going to boo, we're classy here. We're classy.
I'll boo. Boo. You all know I can't be quiet. No, we're going to boo. That's all right. The haters will shut up on Monday when we win.
There we go.
All right. Hey, no, we aren't going to boo. I love that. No, I'll boo. I can't be quiet. No, totally going to boo. Good. I agree. Look, here's the thing, right? So you had Pramila Jayapal and Ilhan Omar that were there as well. And those are obviously big supporters of Bernie Sanders. And a lot of people went after them as well for allowing Rashida Tlaib to get away with it. To get away with what? To get away with booing? I'm sorry, she's allowed to have an opinion. And her opinion is shared by a lot of people who also think that was really unfair of Hillary Clinton to come out and to continue to basically attack the front runner on the Democratic Party nomination, to inject herself back into this. By the way, after the last 2 years of taking shots at Bernie Sanders. So, no, there's nothing that she did that was wrong. Hillary Clinton has been intentionally interfering in the primary process to sandbag the front runner. I mean, would the party accept this from any other Democrat? No. Imagine if Obama had started doing this to Hillary Clinton during 2016, coming out and saying, oh my God, no, Hillary Clinton not doing unity enough. She'll never do unifying the Democrats. She'll never beat Donald Trump. Imagine if Obama had done that. You know what? Everybody would have lost their minds. Now, imagine a person that has done 39 rallies for Ms. Clinton back in 2016, plus numerous TV appearances urging for the election of Ms. Clinton during that time, and had decided to run in the next election because he had a chance to win, became the front runner, but was then called by the party divisive. Well, now wait a minute here. You don't have to imagine, because it's literally happening. And it's complete and total hypocrisy on when it comes to Hillary Clinton. Because believe it or not, she is still very influential in the party. And so it makes you wonder what happened in not attacking fellow Democrats. Bernie Sanders is running as a Democrat. He signed a document certifying that he is a Democrat. For all intents and purposes, he would be leading. If he wins the nomination, he will be leading the Democratic Party. But see, it's not about that, right? Because Jeff Van Drew, I've talked about him before. Jeff Van Drew was also a Democrat before he switched over to become a Republican and kiss Trump's ring, basically. It seems like party affiliation tends to be more of a fluid thing, don't you think? And so that makes me think that blue no matter who is probably the dumbest mantra I've ever seen. I'm serious about that. Considering how it would be pretty freaking easy to see a Republican become a Democrat for the sole purpose of pushing the party to the right. Oh, right. We've also seen that before. It's exactly what's happening. Michael Bloomberg, who is now currently running on the Democratic ticket, was a Republican until 2007. And then he became an independent. Now he's running as a Democrat. And yet the party has no problems with Michael Bloomberg. Everybody loves him. Oh my God, Michael Bloomberg. Yes, another billionaire that is running in the Democratic Party. We love Michael Bloomberg. The DNC literally changed its rules to get Bloomberg a chance to get into the debates. His entire campaign, by admission, is designed solely for the purpose to sandbag Bernie Sanders. They are so afraid of him. And yet, when we call out these shenanigans, we're the bad guys. We're sowing discord. We're the divisive ones, right? What about unity? Unity! No, it's a primary. There's no friends in a primary season. Elizabeth Warren showed that after she stabbed Bernie Sanders in the back. Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama, by the way, they had an insanely vicious primary back in 2008. And guess what? Hillary Clinton used the same playbook, accusing Barack Obama and his followers of being sexist. In fact, there was an article in Salon back then that said, titled, Back Off Obama Boys. Obama Boys. She was also the one that put the picture of Obama in Muslim garb that fueled racist right-wing attacks and the birther movement. Hillary Clinton started the birther movement. She hinted that he would even be assassinated. Not only that, but she engaged in voter suppression, telling people in more majority African-American areas with gigantic lines to vote to go home so that Obama would lose those areas. No. Hillary Clinton is the one that's being divisive and deserves all the booing in the world. It's justified booing. Still, there was intense backlash by the establishment media, Clinton supporters online. They were like a mob, and they went after her viciously, which, by the way, Tlaib is a woman of color. She's Palestinian. Okay. They accused her, though, of being a female Trump. Neera Tanden for the Center for American Progress compared the booing, right, of Hillary Clinton to the Trump chants of lock her up. That is not the same thing. That is not the same thing at all. This is directly in response to her intentionally interfering in the Democratic primary to try to stop our best chance in defeating a Donald Trump. It's not the same situation. But here's the thing. The establishment would rather have 4 more years of Donald Trump at a time where it's critical that we change course on climate change so that we can avoid climate disruption. They would rather have Trump at this critical time than Bernie Sanders. It makes you think how really committed they are to actually stopping climate change. But here's the thing. It's all about power for these people. These Clinton people that would have been on her staff, that would have been in her cabinet, they hate Bernie Sanders so much because they believe that it's his fault that they lost their chance to get a cushy job at the White House that would have set them up for life. They were literally measuring the drapes. But then here comes this nobody from Vermont to mess up their plans. And ever since, they've been super salty. Now, following this, Rashida Tlaib ended up apologizing. Because after all, burners are supposed to be 100% perfect online. Because if you utter one negative thing about anyone else, about any other candidate, or respond to any attack against Bernie Sanders, then we are instantly labeled, all of us in a group, toxic bros who are destroying the Democratic Party. Because that's apparently who we are now. I mean, look, it's only uncivil if you punch back. They can say all the negative, terrible things about us all day long and not get touched. Now, her apology is as follows. She tweeted this. I know it's at stake if we don't unify over one candidate to beat Trump, and I intend to do everything possible to ensure that Trump does not win in 2020. In this instance, I allowed my disappointment with Secretary Clinton's latest comments about Senator Sanders and his supporters to get the best of me. You all, my sisters in service on stage and our movement, deserve better. No. Don't apologize. What you did was perfectly fine. Rashida Tlaib did nothing wrong. And no, here's the thing. Yes, she's right that we all deserve better. We deserve better than what we're getting from the establishment. I understand that this is a primary. And in a primary, we're supposed to distinguish candidates from each other. Hillary Clinton is not running for anything. She is not involved in this primary. So why is she out here using whatever influence she might have left within the party to sandbag the frontrunner when she's also talking about how we need to unify the Democratic Party? That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. And look, for the last 2 years, Hillary Clinton has been sniping at Bernie Sanders. Oh, nobody likes him. He can't unify the Democrats. His policies they make no sense. He hasn't been vetted yet. All that stuff. And here's the thing. This is despite the fact that Bernie Sanders is one of the most popular politicians among Democratic voters, especially young people. He is the favorite of young people, the future of the party, and also among people of color who are the backbone of the Democratic Party. And you don't have to believe me on that. There are numerous polls out there to back that up. Now, of course, you look at some of the polls and you look at some of the pollsters, you got people like Nate Silver that just consider those people of color residue. Actually, things that he said. Look, if you actually care about party unity, then maybe you should let the candidates continue to distinguish themselves from each other on policy, as they do in a primary, and stay out of it. And that is, of course, a message to people like Hillary Clinton and Neera Tanden and the rest. Stay out of it if you really care about unity. Okay. So now we get to the next story here. All right. The Democratic National Committee has just made an important rule change in order to benefit a certain billionaire. So now that billionaire is, of course, Michael Bloomberg, who is running in the Democratic Party to go after Bernie Sanders. Now, previously, the rules in order to get into a debate involved grassroots funding. So you have to have enough people donating to your campaign as one of the preconditions to make it into the debates, because it shows, of course, that you have a lot of backing. Now, Mike Bloomberg, he's a billionaire, so he is self-funding his campaign. Wasn't there another candidate who said he was self-funding his campaign? And he said that would insulate him from special interests, as Michael Bloomberg says. Oh, right. Originally, that was Donald Trump. And then, later on, he started getting massive donations from billionaires. Weird. And it's almost as if he's done everything to help billionaires and himself ever since. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so now you had to get a certain amount of small donations in order to earn a spot in the debates. Now, Michael Bloomberg is not at that point, which is why he will not be in the next debate, which is coming up very soon after Iowa. However, he might qualify for the Nevada debates. Now, those rules that were in place, that were changed by the DNC, were actually enforced in the last 8 debates. Now, the new rules stipulate that candidates have to have at least one pledged delegate from Iowa or New Hampshire, or poll at 10% or higher in 4 national polls in order to participate. They can also qualify by getting at least 12% in 2 sanctioned polls. Now, even by these new metrics, at this point, Bloomberg is still on the line for Nevada, but you have seen him rise in the polls. Why? It's because he's literally blanketing the airwaves in ads. He has taken out hundreds of millions of dollars in ads. I mean, you cannot go on, you cannot watch TV or go online without seeing a Bloomberg ad. It's insane. He has spent, as I said, over nearly $300 million on ads just recently. He even bought an ad in the Super Bowl. So, look, there's a good chance that because of all this, he will make it to Nevada, but we don't know yet. But if it's true, if he does make it into the Nevada debate, then it just shows that you can literally buy your way onto the debate stage right now. And that's a big problem because you know what? There's some hypocrisy here, right? So now under the old rules, people like Cory Booker and Mike Gravel were excluded from the debate. Mike Gravel had a lot of grassroots support. But because of certain polling rules, they're like, oh, Mike Gravel, not going to get into the debate. Not at all. Really? And so, look, again, you want to complain that, and I've heard this, right? There's a lot of complaints about the primaries being only old white men now, or white, just mainly white, right? Again, Cory Booker excluded. They would not change the rules for Cory Booker. But Mike Bloomberg gives a lot of money to the DNC just before the debate, tens of thousands of dollars. And Tom Perez suddenly says, oh, you know what? We're going to change the rules. We're going to let Mike Bloomberg into the debates now. So now you have politicians that are calling this out. For one, Elizabeth Warren, right? Elizabeth Warren says DNC didn't change the rules to ensure good, diverse candidates could remain in the debate stage. They shouldn't change the rules to let a billionaire on. Billionaires shouldn't be allowed to play by different rules on the debate stage in our democracy or in our government. There's another former candidate, Julian Castro, who now is a Warren supporter. He said this, quote, when Cory Booker led an effort to change the debate thresholds, the DNC refused, saying they couldn't benefit any candidate. It seems the only candidate they're willing to benefit is a billionaire who's buying his way into the race. Total mess. Look, both Julian Castro and Elizabeth Warren are 100% correct. The DNC did refuse to change its rules for candidates of color, refused to do issue-focused debates like on climate change or on poverty. It refused to allow their candidates to do other debates that are unsanctioned by the DNC, saying that if you do these side debates like TYT wanted to, the Young Turks main channel wanted to set up a climate debate, they were unable to do so because they're barred or would be barred from the DNC doing further sanctioned debates. And yet, for all this supposed unwavering on the DNC when it came to their rules, oh no, it's set in stone. Well, now Michael Bloomberg comes in. First, Bernie Sanders surges in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, California, and other places. And Bloomberg starts to rise in the polls. They're like, Bloomberg. Oh, we got to change the rules. We need Bloomberg in there. Oh, we need more disparate voices. We need other voices. And the person that apparently we don't have enough, and it's amazing that they say this, or that they're doing this, because it basically says, oh, yes, we only have one billionaire voice in there, Tom Steyer. We need more billionaire voices. White billionaires. No to people of color. Yes to more billionaires. That's the DNC right now. I mean, it's ridiculous. And by the way, again, Bloomberg is massively anti-Bernie Sanders. The whole point is that he is now considered the establishment's last best hope against a Bernie Sanders presidency. It's right here. We can all see it. It's super obvious. Now, the good news is I think this is going to backfire. Bloomberg has an atrocious record in New York. You got stop and frisk. You got homelessness. You got tax giveaways to wealthy developers. You have more. He has systematically showed that how much he despises people of color and the poor of every race. He's a disaster. And at some point, his ability to blast his BS all over the airwaves is not going to be a benefit to him anymore. So now, Bernie Sanders gets the last word on this. And he said, and by the way, he weighed in just after Bloomberg had announced, quote, I don't believe that Mr. Bloomberg is going to succeed because I think at the end of the day, people of this country do not want to see a billionaire buy an election. And that is precisely what Mr. Bloomberg is trying to do. Indeed. All right. I'm going to take a break. We'll come back. We're going to have I'm going to thank some members, read some super chats. I kept trying to say that word. Patrons, of course, as well as read some comments from members. So thank you guys for those super chats that I will read after the break. Stay right here. We'll come back. We got more stories around the nation.
Why? You're getting nervous, man.
Welcome back to the show. Run the Nation right here. TOT Nation, Jeff Waldorf here with you. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. So I want to thank some patrons first. So I want to thank Suzette Figs and Salvador Guevara. So thank you. If you want to become a patron and help independent progressive media, you can go to patreon.com/TYT Nation to sign up. Now, we also have channel members that I want to thank. Sven R. and the Twinkie Foot. So thank you. You can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below. There's a couple of different tiers. Both, of course, are great ways to support independent progressive media. So thank you. All right. Anyway, so couple comments here. I'm sorry, super chats here. One from Zachary Fluke, who says, if only the Democratic establishment put half as much effort into helping the people they supposedly represent as they do for attacking Bernie, well, then we might actually have things like Medicare for all, which is super scary from what I hear, especially when it comes to the Democratic establishment, who loves private insurance companies and their money. The Searoth also says, the DNC, I like big money, and I cannot lie. It's true. It's very true. All right. A couple of other comments here. Weary Pirate says MSNBC smears Bernie 24/7, but don't ever punch back or you're being an uncivil Bernie bro. That's absolutely true. And then Terry Taylor says, the thing is, it's all backfired on her as well as Warren and her attempt to smear Bernie with her BS. So, yes, that's absolutely true. Seems to have backfired, again, both on Clinton and Warren. But, of course, establishment media continues to push the, oh, my God, how dare you go after Hillary Clinton like that, misogynist, sexist. And at the same time, like, it made Rashida Tlaib have to apologize. And, again, I don't think that she should have. I really don't think that she should have apologized, because that does put more power in the hands of the establishment when they do these attacks. Again, I love Rashida for her fire, her energy, and I understand that she wants to, remain focused. But there's this discussion about, unity. I'm not seeing it happen. I'm especially not seeing it happen from the Clinton folks, right? But look, there's not a lot of unity from the Sanders people too, and I understand why. When you have these constant attacks, and so we're pretty sick of it. We're really tired of what the establishment has been doing, and so I don't blame people that are like, no, we're not going to have unity here, because they keep attacking literally the front runner and his supporters. But you know what? Bill Maher said something interesting, right? So Bill Maher. Bill Maher is the guy who was like, oh, no, Amy Klobuchar, she has Klobenthal, right? Well, no, he actually came out and said, you know what? Bernie Sanders has a big army, and he does. An online army that's going to defend him and going to go after, in his words, he actually says this as it's a good thing, right? And I agree that it's a good thing. Bernie's got the army that's going to take on Trump's army. That's the most sense that Bill Maher has made. He's like, yeah, that's a good thing. Bernie's got the army, and he is best positioned to take on Trump's army. He's actually right on this one. So credit to Bill Maher for actually getting it right for once. It's been a long time. Where have you been, Bill? All right, anyway. So let's move on here. Let's go to John Kerry. Okay. And I have to quick replace that. All right. Former Secretary of State John Kerry vehemently denied a report that he was considering a run to stop Senator Bernie Sanders from winning the Democratic nomination. So now over the weekend, NBC News reported that John Kerry was overheard on the phone talking about the possibility of Bernie Sanders taking down the Democratic Party by winning the nomination. So, according to NBC News, his response was to take down the Democratic Party by running for the nomination. Again, this is somebody who lost to George W. Bush in 2004. Now, this report was by Jonathan Allen and Alan Smith, and they went through some details about what was allegedly overheard in Iowa. They said, Kerry was overheard by an NBC News analyst saying, maybe I'm effing deluding myself here. Well, already, this is fun. And explaining that to run, he'd have to step down from the board of Bank of America and give up his ability to make paid speeches. Because, that's the worst, right? Oh, John Kerry. Oh, would you have to give up your cushy job at Bank of America? Oh, poor John Kerry. How sad. I cry for you. But not really. Poor John Kerry. Now, Kerry also allegedly said that donors like venture capitalist Doug Hickey would have to, quote, raise a couple of million, adding that such donors now have the reality of Bernie. Yes, they have the reality that Bernie Sanders is kicking all of your asses. Everybody in the establishment is now super afraid of him. By the way, after dismissing him for years. Now, he's, for example, leading in Iowa, right? And yes, Iowa is shifting. In fact, there is literally the Iowa caucus tonight. But he's also been leading in the polls in New Hampshire, Nevada, Texas is within 5 points, South Carolina in a new poll. Leading also as well in California. I mean, here comes Bernie. And these guys, they're flipping out. Now, I'm going to give you Kerry's response here. And it is interesting in a couple of ways. Now, he told NBC that the reporter had misinterpreted the call and that he was actually explaining to a friend who, quote, watches too much cable why he could not and would not run under any circumstances. Now, he then tweeted, right? And the tweet was interesting. Now, there were two different tweets saying essentially the same thing. Quote, as I told the reporter, I am absolutely not running for president. Any report otherwise is effing or categorically false. I've been proud to campaign with my good friend Joe Biden, who is going to win the nomination, beat Trump, and make an outstanding president. That's the first tweet. He then deleted that tweet and issued another one in its place. Sans F-bomb. So instead of otherwise is effing or categorically false, just said is false. Okay. All right. So that's weird because this guy's a top politician. He's a diplomat. Doesn't seem like him at all, right? My guess is he was caught. I think he was talking about this. I don't believe his story. He was talking about it. Maybe he's in favor of running. Maybe he's saying no. Like if I run, I'd have to quit my cushy job. I don't want to do that. That's crazy. No, I wouldn't want to do that, even though I'd have to run against Bernie Sanders. Oof. Man, I don't want to do that. So now being overheard, super, super embarrassing, right? So that makes him mad. He fires off this tweet and then reels himself back in. Now, the reason it was so embarrassing for him is not that he was caught basically talking about taking down Bernie Sanders. No, that's actually, that's something that us progressives focus on a lot, right? Because, now here comes John Kerry trying to take down Bernie Sanders. That's not the big story, right? Reality, the big story is that John Kerry is currently a surrogate for Joe Biden. If it were to come out that he was planning a run against Joe Biden, and by the way, I think it's too late for him to make much of a difference anyway. And so hence a reason why he wouldn't run. But the whole idea that there are people pressuring John Kerry to run against Bernie Sanders for the nomination shows that no one has any faith in Joe Biden at all. I mean, that is super embarrassing. Imagine you're Joe Biden, which I know, scary thought, right? I mean, then you have to think about how the phonographs are teaching the word, the words to kids and rubbing their leg hair and whatever. Like, that's a scary mind to imagine being in. But okay, imagine if you're Joe Biden and you're seeing the establishment trying to urge your, surrogates to run in a primary against you because they have absolutely no faith in you whatsoever. Look, they're trying everything, right? I mean, look, I think they all know at this point that Joe Biden is going to get slaughtered by Donald Trump if he becomes the nominee. The same way that Donald Trump destroyed Hillary Clinton. He's got a lot of baggage. And by the way, for those of you like, what? Hillary Clinton got 30 million more votes than Donald Trump. Yeah, but Hillary Clinton should be a smarter politician. She should have known how to campaign for the Electoral College. I'm sorry, but in our system that is antiquated and should be revamped, right? And the Electoral College eliminated, you still have to win the states in the Electoral College. You have to win the Electoral College. She did not do that. So your 3 million votes, yeah, in a democracy that would have mattered, but we are not a democracy. And so maybe we should change it so that we become more of a democracy. But no, that's going too far. It's too much change. Can't have that, if you ask the establishment. But anyway, so yeah, he's got a lot of baggage. Joe Biden does. I mean, he's got a history of terrible votes: the war in Iraq, the bankruptcy bill, the 1994 crime bill, working with segregationists, being against busing for African Americans, literally being the senator from MBNA, which is a credit card company, because he's so in favor of credit card companies. He's on video bragging about wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid. He's taken millions of dollars. I'm sorry, not millions, hundreds of thousands of dollars from Comcast executives to be against net neutrality. He has lied about his role during the civil rights era and has been caught numerous times plagiarizing. Biden is literally the worst candidate right now to take on Donald J. Trump, who, by the way, is going to use all of that against him. And for all those reasons, and as well as him being part of the establishment. Again, he has promised his donors, don't worry, guys, nothing will fundamentally change when I become president. I've got a really bad feeling that he's going to lose to Donald Trump if nominated. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. But I'm kind of thinking that maybe we shouldn't gamble with the next 4 years by nominating the wrong guy. Kerry or Biden or Bloomberg or any of the establishment figures or billionaires. It's just wrong. No, what we need is the one person that is consistently pulled above Donald Trump. And that is Bernie Sanders. Because you know what? When you actually have real left-wing populism with somebody who has a history of backing that up, somebody that you can trust, versus a fake right-wing populist, the real one tends to win every time. Okay. So let's go to Chris Matthews. All right. Last story of the day, by the way. And it's the best. All right, hold on a second.
Wait, no, but you get the wrong.
Ah, crap. No, that's the right one. Shit. All right, hold on a second. I am having I need to take a quick break to get the videos all set up correctly.
Danger as I'm not happy. I'm not happy with this field. I think
We're doing it live, guys. We're doing it live. Having some issues, but we're good. We're good now. All right. MSNBC host Chris Matthews went on a little bit of a fearful rant over Bernie Sanders' rise in the polls. Take a look.
I'm not happy. I'm not happy with this field. I think they got to find a candidate for president that can beat Trump.
And you don't think anybody in this field
I'm
can beat
looking.
Trump?
I'm still looking.
Still looking.
What's the problem?
Obvious problems. They're all problems. Bernie Sanders is not going to be president of the United States. Okay? I went back to the 72 race. I was a young volunteer for the DNC. I was working for a senator from Utah at the time. I've got to tell you, it feels a lot like it. Now, analytically, I think a couple things have happened. One is Warren was riding high. I thought she was going to sweep through everything. I should first too easily and just keep going. She was the one candidate I thought could do that. What happened? She got a lot of scrutiny. Does this stuff add up? The Medicare for all, the free college, all that stuff got killed. And guess who's going to get it now? Bernie's going to get it now. Bernie's going to ride high, and he's finally going to get scrutiny about his whole life, his ideology, his whole life, who did he root for all his life. Who is this guy ideologically? It's not just the nice, good stuff like health care. Why does he say the stuff he does about Maduro and people like that? Why does he say Denmark one week and then somebody else? I mean, people got to figure out who the guy is. Yeah. I think I know because I've dealt with these guys most of my adult life. They're usually the guys at the card tables at an anti-war rally. There'll be there some old guy with some old literature from this socialist party to that, trying to sell it, trying to latch on to the anti-war movement. There's always guys like that. And they're usually, you know, as Howard Fine once said, non-negotiable demands, you know, yelling up at the administration building during the anti-war movement. I know them, but I think the country's going to get to know them. I think we got a problem. We'll see. But, you know, nobody's going to say it tonight. They're all going to be cheering. Good old Bernie. You know, I think he's going to win big tonight, real big.
Throughout that whole thing, it almost seemed like Chris Matthews was on the verge of tears. Like, literally having a breakdown as we speak. Oh, I know the guy. But do you know the guy? Yeah, everybody who supports him knows who Bernie Sanders is because he's literally been the same person for the last 40 years. He's very consistent. In fact, that's why people like Bernie Sanders. But so, look, Chris Matthews, he's having a bit of a sad, right? And it just makes me think, oh, are you okay, Chris? Are you going to be all right? I mean, you sound like you're really, really upset that your boy Joe Biden might get trounced in Iowa. But look, he's getting upset that Bernie Sanders has a shot at winning the nomination. I mean, do you know how you win the Democratic nomination, by the way? You get it by people voting for you in primaries and caucuses. So that means, by extension, he's mad at the people who like Bernie Sanders' message, and goes on, of course, to do a comparison between Bernie Sanders and George McGovern, essentially blaming the voters, saying, "Oh my God, George McGovern, I thought there's so much energy. He blew out a great guy, the other guy that was running against McGovern. Oh my God," and we ended up losing. This isn't 1982, right? This isn't the 1990s. Which, by the way, this is where Chris Matthews lives. He still thinks, oh, no, Tip O'Neill was able to work with Ronald Reagan. Yeah. And so we got Tip O'Neill, and then he's working with the Republicans, and well, that's how it's supposed to work. And is still red baiting. Look, by the way, back then, red baiting did still work on a lot of voters, right? And they're still doing that today, by the way. And they think, oh my God, they're going to call Bernie Sanders a socialist, and that's going to make him win. That doesn't have the same connotation or the same effect now today that it used to. In fact, in 2020, nearly half of all millennials are distrustful of capitalism and have an interest in socialism. Young people, look, we grew up under the Great Recession and the failures of our inherently capitalist system, right? That is way out of balance in favor of the capital owners versus the working class. Bernie Sanders, he's the candidate of the working class. And so we have the internet. We can see the effect of these disastrous policies, right? And we can also see all the other countries that did universal healthcare very successfully. They have single-payer healthcare systems. They have college tuition, right? That's what that's what he's talking about when he points at Denmark, right? Oh, looks like they can actually do these policies without going bankrupt, which, by the way, the United States actually can't go bankrupt. But look, not only that, but he makes a comparison of Sanders is one of those guys. He's handing out pamphlets, socialist pamphlets, at an anti-war. Can you believe that? Somebody being anti-war? Ooh, we hate that. Yeah, you and the establishment hate that. But the majority of the country is war weary. We're tired of going to war in the Middle East over oil. And not only that, but you have a majority of Americans, it's a small majority, even after all the attacks against single-payer Medicare for all, that still favor government-run health insurance, that still favor taxing the rich. In fact, that's an incredibly popular position to have. And taking on climate change using a Green New Deal. This is something that Republicans are saying, oh, they're going to kill your cows, and they're going to kill your airplanes. No, nobody believes that except for, right-wing Trump supporters and, people that are supposedly, supposed to be liberals, supposed to care about climate change are saying, too bold, can't have it. We literally have 10 years left to do something about climate change. Let's go. But no, can't do the Green New Deal, which is ambitious and totally doable with current scientific methods. No, we have to ease and have a transition, which means we're still going to do fracking. We're still going to do oil and gas. And so, sorry, nothing we can do about it. We have to transition because anything else is impossible. It's pie in the sky, right? Look, I'm sure, of course, his Chris Matthews outdated allegory fits perfectly into the situation. No, things change, right? The country is open to a real progressive populist. And let's not forget, in the last election, all these MSNBC people like Chris Matthews were saying that Donald Trump was never going to become president. That Hillary Clinton was going to win. She's going to win in a landslide. They literally laughed at the idea that Donald Trump could become president. They were all incredibly wrong. And they also saw the most well-known politician, Hillary Clinton, been working in politics for a very, very long time, very influential, very high profile, facing a serious challenge from a no-named self-described socialist from Vermont who got nearly half of all delegates. And yet, since then, by the way, since Bernie Sanders lost, he has been building on his campaign, building out a movement, right? A very successful movement from what I've been seeing. The most fundraising, the most small donors, they've been getting at his message. They've been changing the conversation. And this is all while Chris Matthews and the others at MSNBC decided to ignore him. And they were ignoring him a lot, other than, of course, segments like these.
No, but you get the wrong candidate, you might lose the whole thing. What about Bernie Sanders? Do you think he's a danger as a president, as a candidate.
Bernie Sanders does have a sort of physicality, when he talks. That is a shaking your finger at Hillary Clinton, shaking your finger, shovey, weirdy. His physicality.
How much of danger is that Bernie Sanders, who's now leading in the polls?
First of all, I think Bernie's lying.
For me, as again, I'm not the political analyst here, but just as a woman, probably considered a somewhat moderate Democrat, Bernie Sanders makes my skin crawl.
Suppose you're lying on a road hurt. Which of the candidates would stop their car and get out and help you? I think Biden wins that one pretty easily. I think Elizabeth maybe. I don't think Bernie wins it.
And I can't even identify for you what exactly it is, but I see him as sort of a not pro-woman candidate.
We see him, he slouches forward anyway, Joy, but here he turtles. If you look at his eye level where he normally answers questions, when he makes the denial, his whole shoulders come up like a little kid getting caught. His eye level is below his shoulders. This is trying to hide in plain sight.
How big a danger would he be to the country or to the party, the Democrats?
That's just a few shows from MSNBC. They've been doing this for the last couple of years, attacking Bernie Sanders. Look, they either attacked him or they ignored him and propped up Biden, which, by the way, Biden has received over $153,000 during his entire career from 1989 to 2020 from executives at Comcast. Comcast owns MSNBC. Isn't there a coincidence? They push Biden. They give him most of the airtime, which is positive. They go after Bernie Sanders, who has the least airtime and the majority of it negative. That can't be a coincidence because it's not. Follow the money. Now, a couple of tweets here before we go from progressives. We'll start with Sam Finkelstein, right? He says, the Bernie surge has Chris Matthews on the verge of tears. It's okay, Chris. Rob Rousseau also said, moronic cable TV millionaires like Chris Matthews truly believe nothing good could ever happen in America because of an election that happened 50 goddamn years ago. Cry more, Chris. We love to see it. The outline Shuja Hader says had a different take. They said, Chris Matthews says Bernie is like an old guy distributing socialist literature at an anti-war rally, as though that's a bad thing. Because it's really not. Sports writer Lauren Walker also said this. Old people at protests from Code Pink, Vets for Peace, etc. are some of the most authentic people you will ever talk to. And then adds, Chris Matthews thinks they're kooks because they spend time giving a crap about our foreign policy instead of going to brunch because he's a pig. I'm going to leave it there. Because you know what? You love to see it. All right. And that's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you for going around the nation with me today, putting up with those glitches, those errors that I had today. Yes, all human error. As I run the show all by myself. So thank you for going around the nation with me today. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. There's, of course, a link in the chat. Also, we've got merchandise like T-shirts and stuff. It's kind of cool. Working on that. T-shirts, mugs, stickers, all that stuff. You can find a link to that in our description as well. All the proceeds, of course, go to help independent progressive media. All right, guys. Thank you. I love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, nation. Let's crush it in Iowa today. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Please clap.
Mike Pence.
Why? You're getting nervous, man.
They're kicking me out the door. They're kicking me out the door.